Hello, everyone. I hope everybody is doing well. I found some information this morning that I would like to share with you. It helped me, and I hope that it can help you as well. Sometimes when you're dealing with a mental health crisis, one of the hardest things, for me at least, is to articulate the things that are going on within your mind and your body. I found these two women, Kristen Bell and Taraji B. Henson, so incredibly powerful in explaining what life is like for them while living with depression. The hardest part for me is trying to explain the unexplainable, but the way these women broke it down was just fantastic. I'm going to be sharing snippets of audio from two different platforms. I will also leave a link in the description so that you can watch each video in its entirety. The other day, a friend of mine said, "You are so funny. Why don't you make content regarding breaking news or celebrities or television show reviews and so on and so forth?" And I had to explain to them that, first of all, no dig to anyone, that content is a dime a dozen. I want to make content that would be purposeful, that would be life-changing for not only those who suffer, but for those who have relationships with them. I want to make a platform where we can speak without fear of stigmatization. So why not create a community where we can learn, grow, support each other, and I too can hopefully heal in the end. I will be making content on all types of mental health issues, such as hoarding, body dysmorphia, a new one my daughter told me about the other day, histrionics, I believe it is. So I'm going to be doing all kinds of research in order to help all of us that suffer and all of the people that love them. Okay? So I'm going to stop rambling so I can get into the content.
Know how my brain works in order to catch it from doing bad things, because the brain is really tricky and it will tell you things that aren't true. And so knowing that I would remember a negative experience more than I'd remember a positive, I would really make it my mission to go, okay, but the positive experiences with that person were equal. I'm going to choose to let that negative experience go.
Now that part I found very interesting. Let's continue.
Hard to put into words, honestly, and it feels different at different times. When my anxiety is high, it feels like an absolute inability to make decisions. Like I would rather not do something than decide what to do. And it's almost paralyzing, which is odd because it seems like it's simple. Do you want to go on a walk or sit on the couch and watch TV? And I'm like, I can't figure that out. I don't have the brain power. It feels like decision fatigue. And then depression is different. My version of it feels very restricted, like if you're trying to put on like a latex glove that's way too small for your hand. Also, it sort of coincides with this feeling of not being excited about anything, which again, on a day when you feel great or even normal, you can get excited about things. Like you're like, oh, I'm going to have pizza today, or I'm going to see a friend today, or all of the fun things about life. And when I'm having depression, it's like none of those things are exciting or seem worth it. So there's this real disconnect because I know logically that should be a feeling that induces some happiness, but it's like,
her summation of how it feels literally gave me chills. A friend asked the other day how I feel sometimes, and the only way I could describe it was that sometimes it's just debilitating. And it's hard to describe how something in your mind can just numb your whole body, your whole being. I'm sorry for interrupting. Now back to her.
My depression will not let me recognize those feelings. At 40, I don't believe anything should be taboo. anymore. But I think that anything that's taboo and hard to talk about should be some of the first priorities you should be talking about with the support systems in your life. I wish that I had known as a person in the public eye to talk about it publicly. And I said to my husband, God, I have nothing to talk about. I feel exhausted. Like, I've said every story about my life. And he said, why don't you talk about your struggle with anxiety and depression? And it was a huge light bulb. I was like, I've never done that. I was experiencing the same thing that everyone else was, which is like, well, just don't talk about that. And then I just felt so inauthentic and irresponsible to have been presenting this bubbly, happy person, which is someone that I cultivate and I nurture and I try really hard to exist as. And I just wasn't being honest with the people, like the girls who may look up to me. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to talk about it. And so
that part gave me life. How do you go from being the life of the party to a snail at the ocean?
And I just wasn't being honest with the people, like the girls who may look up to me. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to talk about it. And so I don't even think that Sam knew, but during that interview, I was like, actually, for a period of my life and periods and often and sometimes just on a random Wednesday, I feel this way. And then we started to get more in depth and I found myself really happy to be admitting all of it. And the response I got from that interview was astounding to me. So many people saying, I've felt that way too. Thank you for saying it out loud. You gave me the courage to say it out loud, which I did practically nothing other than do what I should do, which is be honest and authentic. I just felt like if I wrote my life down on paper, I had so many opportunities, so much privilege, so much access to happiness, and yet my feelings were not that. As an 18-year-old living on her own in New York City, I should be like, yes. It should be so exciting, but it wasn't. I felt like I was sort of followed by this weird, dark cloud. And I was lucky enough that my mom had sat me down and had a conversation with me, and she said, hey, just a quick heads up, I experience these feelings sometimes. Your grandmother experienced these feelings sometimes. She's a nurse, and so she recognized that there could be a hereditary component to a serotonin imbalance. And she said, if you start to feel any of these things, just know there are a variety of ways that you can reach out to people or try to fix it, and you don't sort of have to live like that.
This is one of the main reasons why we have to erase the taboo around mental health. The fact that her mother was able to help her get the coping mechanisms that she needed, especially at an early age, was a beautiful thing.
It's such a hard thing to talk about. I don't like that there's any sort of stigma to it, but I get it. It's a weird thing to talk about because it's not an affliction that you can see. It's a hard thing to, diagnose and also acknowledge. And a lot of families or support systems or anyone in your life, they don't know how to talk about it, especially if they aren't themselves feeling it. For me, even if you're not experiencing any mental health issues, I would hope that you would walk through life being open and ready to be a shoulder if someone needs you. Because the reality is we're not all born the same. Some of us are born with a ton of confidence, and then some are born really timid. And I just feel like maybe this is just my maternal instincts talking, but I just don't want anyone to feel like they don't have a support system. So if we collectively as a society, self-care, this whole idea should also include caring about each other. It has to obviously be on the person to identify the feeling and say, I need help. But then I think it has to be on the people around them that love them to say, okay, let me see if I can support you.
I have another short clip that I want to play before I end this video. The previous audio can be found on Self-Talk, and the audio that I'm about to play can be found on Off Camera Show with Sam Jones. It's just a short clip, So I do encourage you to go and watch both of these videos in its entirety. You will not regret it.
So I guess I get nervous about labeling me as someone who's struggled, even though I have felt struggles. Because I witnessed so many people that go through so much more, I'm still very, 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 very grateful for the nothing that's happened to me in my entire life. But I have a real hard time talking about or acknowledging suffering, like on the planet, in a grand scale or up close. I don't really love to hear about news stories. I don't like to watch the news at all. It scares me because I am empathetic to a fault that I cannot not put myself in that person's position, even when I don't want to. I don't say that to pat myself on the back. It's a scary feeling because, like, even last night we were watching Real Sports, and Bryant Gumbel was doing a story about this archery champion who had no arms, and they showed his parents had given him up for adoption at like 2 months, and they were showing these pictures of this little boy who had no arms, this little toddler that was like being bathed in the sink, and he had no arms, and I can't even think about it without thinking, what must it feel like to A, have no arms, and B, grow up knowing that your parents kind of abandoned you because you were too much.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm being hyper dramatic because that's not at all how he took his life. He's like this. I mean, look, I'm a mess. This is what it's like to live with me. I cry over everything. But it turned into this inspiring story about how this guy was like, no, I don't wish I had arms. I love my life. And I was like, yes. But I love positive stories, but the negative ones, man, they sit in my heart and they just fester there. And I think about them often. And like, I'm up at night thinking about this Syrian refugee crisis and all these babies that are trying to cross these waters and these deserts. And I feel like I'm going to explode. I genuinely feel like I could cry over everything and I'm going to explode.
Okay, I'm going to end the video there. I hope that everyone was able to hear something that either touched you or inspired you or moved you in any way. Listening to stories of others really helps me, and I hope it helps you as well. I will be putting together the video for Taraji P. Henson next. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and all of that good stuff. Be well and be blessed.